Yo, what's going on there, YouTube? It's your boy, Marcus Levy, Angry Ranter here for Philosophy Friday number 3. Decided today that I'm going to let y'all in on a little bit of the witch philosophy, and we're going to talk Wicca. And more specifically, we're going to talk about the Wiccan Rede, obviously the short version, because I want to talk specifically about the phrase, "and ye harm none, do what ye will," which obviously has been a belief of mine for the last almost 8 years. But of course, there's a longer, subset of paragraphage to it, because the Wiccan Rede has 8 lines in it. It's "Abide the Wiccan law ye must, in perfect love and perfect trust. 8 words the Wiccan Rede fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will. What ye sends forth comes back to thee, so ever mind the rule of 3. Bear this with mind and heart, marry ye meet and marry ye part." Now, of course, that's the first. Those are the 2 lines. And of course, what I want to talk about first is that first part. I want to talk about the "and ye harm none, do what ye will" part. Because to me, that's been of some major importance over the last, 8 years of my life. It's been a major belief of mine for that entire time. And so exactly what this means. So let me break it down. First part is essentially it talks about free will and the nature of free will. And a lot of witches are taught that we have a higher connection to that sense of free will that everyone else has. I'm not going to go too deep into the details because that's not important for this. But essentially, the "and ye harm none, do what ye will" literally means do whatever you want so long as you don't harm anyone. And of course, when you meet some people, they say things like, well, what if people justify and claim they're not the ones harming people? Well, we don't get the right to make that choice. Sometimes you can clearly see something you've done is harm somebody. So then clearly you see "and ye harm not, do what you will" has been broken. But pretty well, in every situation, it's up to the opposite party. It is up to the result that occurs to the opposite party that determines whether or not it's been broken. It's the old adage of, you can't say you didn't hurt me. And so that's the same sort of thing that applies to "and ye harm none, do what you will." You cannot say that your actions cause no harm to somebody when clearly there is something happening. So essentially, witches are all running by a standard of we can do whatever we want so long as no one is harmed. And of course, for us, that extends one step further than it would for most people. Because for most people, you think, okay, don't harm anyone. Right. No physical harm. Do my best not to get into verbal altercations. Do my best not to slander. Do my best not to to name call, all that shit. Okay, cool. But for us, it also extends to, as I said, this nature of free will. Because when it comes to magic, and of course and that's magic with a CK, the real stuff, not the Harry Potter stuff. When it comes to that kind of magic, we are more or less talking about how, with the fact that witches can cast spells and stuff, and I've done this before, we cannot cast any spells that are implicitly looking for us to benefit over someone else. We can cast, say, spells for good luck that bring us luck, but not necessarily to cast spells to advantage ourselves over others. Now, you might be saying, well, isn't there such a thing as hexing? And, that is 100% true. There absolutely is. Hexing is 100% a thing. But it's not often done until we have been wronged. And, it's totally possible that we can and will be wronged. That happens. That happens a lot. I mean, we're people too. And people will cross us. And that's the nature of it, right? But still, you know, along with that comes karma, which of course is the second part of the Wiccan Rede. And I actually want to save that for next week's Philosophy Friday, where we can talk about karma. But more specifically, when talking about this part of the Wiccan Rede, comes down to those few concepts. Comes down to don't harm, don't hurt anyone, you know, intentionally. Don't slander anyone. Any harm done, do what you will, can be broken accidentally when you're not really paying attention to the nature of what's going on. And of course, then there's magic, which is, you know, once cast, we're told to forget about it, so then it can do its own thing, and sometimes that can bring repercussions. But, oh, damn it. But, sorry, that was a low battery notification. I'm so happy it didn't end the recording. Sorry, but as I was saying, and then magic goes off into its own little realm, does whatever it wants to do, and then we're just told to forget about it. So sometimes it can come back with its own repercussions. So never send out anything that you are not then willing to deal with the consequences. Kind of like with stocks, you know. There's a chance that you could make a shit ton of money on this stock, but there's also a chance you could lose everything. And so magic plays the same way, and so does any harm done, do what you will. But it's a hell of a lot more freeing than a lot of other spiritualities and everything else like that. Essentially, don't be a dick on purpose, and you should be fine. All right, that's a little step into my world, and of course we'll have another one of those similar next week, but of course I'll see you tomorrow for the Saturday rant. Peace. Like and subscribe.